There are three components to demand. To demand something, one must have a dream to buy something, such as a nice house or a luxury car. Furthermore, one must have the ability to buy the object. In most cases, this is dependent on income. Finally, one must have the willingness to buy something. The law of demand states that there is an inverse relationship between the price and quantity demanded of a good. As the price of an object increases, less people will demand the object. Fewer people will have the willingness or ability to purchase a good. However, if the price decreases for a good, more people will demand the good, since more people will be able to purchase it. Let's consider two hypothetical spaceships to illustrate this relationship. On the left is a very expensive spaceship. On the right is a spaceship made out of cardboard. The left one is far more expensive than the right one, so fewer people will demand it. These shifts in price mark movement along the demand curve. One non-price variable of demand is the price of complement goods. Complement goods are goods that are typically bought together or have some positive relationship between one another, such as a computer and a mouse. If the price of computers were to fall, the demand of mice would go up, since more people would need new mice for their computers. The opposite of this is a substitute good, or a good that can replace another. For example, if the price of iPhones increased, the quantity of iPhones demanded would decrease. However, more people would be willing to buy Android phones at their current price, shifting the demand curve outwards. Another non-price variable of demand is the number of buyers. If a sudden wave of immigrants came to the United States and instantly became incredibly patriotic, there would be a huge increase in the number of people wanting to buy American flags. Therefore, the demand for American flags would increase, shifting the demand curve outwards. Quality is another important variable of demand. If the quality of cars sold to consumers decreased, fewer people would want to buy the goods regardless of the price they're sold at. The demand curve would shift downwards as a result. However, if the quality of an object increased, more people would want to buy it. Income is a huge factor of demand. If people's incomes fell, the demand of superior, expensive goods would fall, while the demand for cheaper, inferior goods would rise. In this case, if incomes dropped, the demand for luxury soups would decrease, whilst the demand for bargain branch soups would increase. Consumers' tastes also have a large influence on demand. We saw this with the rise of 3D movies and televisions a few years ago. This fad caused many people to want to own their own 3D televisions as well. Because of this new 3D TV fad, the demand of 3D TVs increased to account for the shift in consumers' taste. The final variable of demand is consumers' expectations. If there is a sudden outbreak of mad cow disease, the expected price of beef in the future would go up. As a result, there would be a huge increase in the demand of beef in the present, because consumers would expect a dramatic increase in the price in the future and want to buy it now at the current price. The law of supply is the inverse of the law of demand, stating that there is a direct relationship between price and quantity supplied. As the price of a good increases, suppliers will want to increase the amount they supply, since it'll potentially yield more revenue. However, if the price of a good decreases, they will supply less, since they'll make less money off of it overall. One of the non-price variables of supply is input prices. These can be anything from energy, such as electricity or gasoline costs, to labor costs in the form of workers' wages. If the cost of one of these components increase, the supply of goods will decrease, since more of the money used to produce goods will have to be allocated towards these input costs. Technology does play a huge role in supply. New technologies are often developed, which can increase the productivity of a company, allowing it to produce more for less. For example, the assembly line allowed products to be made quickly in mass. This technological development is positive, shifting the supply curve to the right. The final non-price variable of supply is the number of suppliers. If there are more companies able to produce goods, then more can be manufactured and sold. Therefore, if the number of suppliers increases, the supply of an object itself will increase. Supply and demand can be graphed together. The y-axis represents the price, and the x-axis represents the quantity, be it the quantity supplied or the quantity demanded. The intersection of these 2 points is the point of price-quantity equilibrium, where the amount supplied is equal to the amount demanded. Let's take a look at how non-price variables affect supply and demand when graphed together by using Jell-O. People all over the world have suddenly discovered a hidden love for Jell-O. Their taste for Jell-O has exponentially increased, and so the demand curve has shifted upwards. The new equilibrium point is higher on the supply curve, so the price of Jello increases, and the quantity of Jello supplied, therefore, increases as well. Unfortunately, wages have dropped dramatically. This causes the demand for Jello's pudding competitor, Giga Pudding, to drop substantially as they flee for the cheaper good. Since the equilibrium point has moved down the supply curve, a smaller quantity will be supplied due to the lower demand. Jello companies have acquired new technologies to produce Jello after several government programs that failed to weaponize the substance handed the research over to the public. The supply of Jello can now increase, shifting the supply curve to the right. This movement moves the demand equilibrium to the right, lowering the price of the good while increasing the quantity demanded. However, if governments decide to tax the Jello industry to collect extra revenue, input costs would rise. This would decrease the supply of Jello. The demand-price equilibrium would move towards the left side of the demand curve, increasing the price of Jello but decreasing the quantity of Jello demanded.